Hey, you get a victory Christmas Eve, a victory Monday. Welcome to the post-game show. Final score of the Browns 36, the Texans 7.
If that.
Garbage time was definitely garbage time in that one.
Oh God.
Joining me is Bronk in England and
No.
the
Gong
Gong
of
of
Truth.
Truth. The
The
big
Gong
Gong of Truth reigns supreme.
Yes.
Here's the truth, okay? Because this is the big Gong of Truth. It used to be the big Dong of Truth.
It's shrunk.
Yeah, it's older, and you take Flomax, and that's what happens.
There you go.
We got Hammer Time coming in here. Hey, Jim, how you doing, buddy?
God.
Yeah.
Victory Christmas.
Why does it have to be so damn close all the time?
Well, this wasn't close. I didn't even worry.
But it was like, you just kind of kept expecting something. You had to bring the starters back on the field on both offense and defense. That was annoying.
Here's
wait for it. Gong of
pronouncement of truth. They may have been. What was their record? 8-6 coming in.
Yeah,
8-6. The Texans.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't belong on the same field as the Cleveland Browns.
They did
not with that quarterback. No.
Huge
Stroud. It's a different team.
Yeah, I get that.
It's a totally different team.
But we could say the same thing about 4 quarterbacks. We just happen to find one that worked out. But I mean, the bottom line is you play with the hand that you're dealt, and this team just didn't do shit. And I'm not just talking, badly about the Texans, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of teams in that great middle. But when you look at the time of the season, teams play at different levels as the season goes on. Some teams get stronger, some teams get weaker. The Browns keep getting stronger. And what you're seeing is that separation between the Cleveland Browns and the teams that are struggling. Now the Colts lost, so they're toast, which is great.
Hurt at all. Of course, the
Hi, Heston. Hey, this is the Bears fan from last week. Hey, good to see you, buddy. Glad to see you in the chat room.
Hey, how about those Bengals last night? Let's give it up for the Bengals.
Well, and that's another thing I was going to say.
The game was today, I believe.
Yeah, they stepped off, the plane, and they forgot how to play football. And you want to talk about pissing your pants. And I want to point out something else here. I just knocked the big Gong of Truth over.
Oh, no, you hit him so hard, you knocked him over.
It's true, I did.
Browning was who we thought he was, I guess.
Well, it isn't just that. It's that, he's supposed to get help, from Joe Burrow, who's nowhere around him. It's like, you're on your own. I mean,
Pace was out, which doesn't help them any.
Right. But there was no next man up. Yeah. There was nothing. That was pathetic. And the Texans couldn't get anything going today. And honestly, Joe Flacco, with threading balls in there. I mean, it's like, 200 and how many yards?
The Jets pulled it out.
Oh, the Jets did win?
Just got a field goal, yeah.
Wow. Oh, well.
Trevor Siemian drove them down. They got a field goal.
Time expired?
6-9 Jets, 4-11 Washington.
How did they let Washington back in that game?
Yeah.
And they went through 2 quarterbacks. Washington went through 2 quarterbacks in that game, too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the big Gong of Truth is that Amari Cooper had this phenomenal game. He caught everything that was thrown at him, even if he had to catch it between his legs. Darnell Mooney from last week should look at how to catch a ball with your legs.
Correct.
That's
I got it. I ain't got it.
Yeah, he pulled that out of his legs. I mean,
Yeah.
And the toe taps on the sideline. I mean, it was kind of good to see him get back in to get the record. I mean,
So what is his final number? I don't have the stats.
Oh,
Uh,
like
they
260
just
something.
showed it.
It was 261 was the record, and he went over that.
Yeah, he did.
75
Yeah, he did.
maybe.
Yeah, something. It was a good
I'll have
gain.
to
It was a
go-
fairly
I'll have to go.
substantial
I'll get it.
gain. I'm pulling it up right now as
Oh,
we
you're
speak.
pulling it up. Oh no, not
It's better than pulling it out. I'm not
But
doing that.
Yeah.
Here we go.
265, 11 receptions, 15 targets.
Unbelievable. That's the
265.
kind of game that you dream of. 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, a long of 75, 15 targets, 11 receptions. Those two men look like they've been playing together for ages.
Yeah, they've known each other longer than me and Hammer.
Yeah, and it was nice to know that Elijah Moore really can't catch the ball. I don't know why guys do that. The ball bounces off their chest and they're looking at their hands. It's like, no, your hands had nothing to do with it. Get your anatomy right, for God's sakes.
Yeah, yards per pass, 8.1 for Cleveland, 3.4 for Houston.
Yeah.
3 sacks. Honestly, they really didn't score a touchdown until the game was out of hand, because the touchdown on the kickoff, at least offensively, their offense was offensive.
Yes, thank you for asking about Rox's ass. And the answer is, yeah. When I'm done with this show, I'm going to an Asian restaurant with an old friend and his wife, and Rox will be with me, and we're going to have a really good time. So thank you for asking. I appreciate it. And who's going to be in your ass tonight? All right.
418 total yards.
Yeah, you're going to have to be quick about this, Mark. You're going to find a punter and a kicker in 2 days.
All right. So what happened to Bojorquez? How did he get hurt?
He was just massaging his leg.
On one of the kickoffs. On one of the kickoffs that he had, he hurt his leg.
Oh, God.
It was his actual kicking leg, because he was over there trying to massage it and use the gun and all the... He was trying to find somebody to come out of the stands and help a little. I don't know. But we could have asked Watson. I'm sure he's got connections.
Yeah.
Correct.
No Peking duck at where I'm going. Although, I'm looking at that possibility. I found a place that does Peking duck, supposedly. And I say supposedly because I've had like the ultimate Peking duck experience. And no guy in the chat room, I didn't fuck the duck in the ass. It was just it took 72 hours to make the Peking duck. Seriously.
I think that's poking duck is what he was talking about.
Yeah, he was talking about, he's the bend over. Duck and bend over. But it was the best Peking duck I've had, and I've been looking for something similar since. And this one you have to order in advance, so maybe they need 48 to 72 hours to make it properly. I'm going to find out. No, but it's going to be just a regular. It's more or less the company that's important, not the food. Yeah, Radu, that's right. He got hurt on the kickoff, and when you're asking people to do something they don't normally do, this is when all this is what happens. And difficult, no matter what. This game is dangerous. You lose players, and you hate. When I saw Zadarius Smith go down, it was like, oh God, no. But I don't understand that, because nobody even hit him.
Yeah,
why did
he was holding his stomach, so it was either like a torso kind of thing, or maybe he just got a cramp,
or he's just hungry.
Because it could be. I mean, after playing and then stopping and then going back out to play again, that could have been what,
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Honey Christmas. Okay, that was for Mark.
Oh dear.
He asked for it. I brought it back for a brief moment of political incorrectness. hey, life goes on. What can I tell you?
Yeah, life goes on. So do the Browns, man.
I don't think there's such a thing as nobody carries a second kicker on their roster.
No, not usually.
Well, Houston had the same thing happen to their kicker in a game earlier this year, and that running back, I can't remember his name, was a lot of vowels. He actually came in and kicked the field goal. It's like Okoronkwo, but it's not. It's a different guy. But he had actually kicked a field goal in a game, and he was like one of the first people in years to have done so. Probably since Flutie kicked the one when they kicked the extra point.
I'm trying to figure out the context of this. They should sign a kicker that played at Delphi last year. Gary Delabate, he's pretty good, that has big horse teeth. I'm trying to figure out what the...
Oh, that's Baba Booey.
Yeah.
That's a Baba Booey reference.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, he's Noin for Noin. I'm sure that guy will appreciate that.
Dear.
Yeah, you got to find a kicker, and it's just got to be somebody who gets us through a period of time. And, again, the thing that's ridiculous, the only thing the Browns did wrong in the game was special teams, and we lost our all-pro kicker because of it. And a hamstring is going to cost him the rest of the year, and he may not even be able to kick in the first game of the playoffs. Yeah, it's like that.
The other thing about it is that he was actually headed to break Jim Brown's single season scoring record.
He was
before that happened, and he would have, because they had a couple opportunities for field goals. So that went by the wayside as well.
Yeah, and Hopkins has had such a fine year, but a history of leg issues that have cost him his job in one instance.
No.
He was doing a great job kicking for the Washington Commanders, and he did something with his leg. It was a similar kind of thing, and he was replaced by a younger guy. And when the next season came around, he lost his job to that younger guy because the age difference. They looked at the actuarial charts for kickers, and they said, we're going with the younger guy. The younger guy turned out to be really good. I forget his name now.
There actually is a guy out there, former Buckeye, I think, that was with Cincinnati earlier this year. And he did the same thing this summer, got hurt, and then they end up cutting him, signed another guy. I mean, kickers, or whatever. So I think there's always a kicker out there. But
yeah, I mean, that isn't like finding a quarterback, which we have done. I want to point out the real positives about this game, besides obviously Flacco and Amari Cooper. There are several other real positives. Zadarius Smith getting multiple sacks in a game of such significance on the road. I mean, you give him an award. You give the just the overall defensive squad extra credit, because they did a remarkable job of just not giving up anything. You have to wonder, CJ Stroud's success, which gives you an idea of how fine a young quarterback he is, but it should remind everybody who Case Keenum is and why Joshua Dobbs doesn't make it either in the NFL. When you're a check down quarterback and you're strictly a game manager, and Dobbs could at least make a long throw. He doesn't have a great arm. And I'm going to taint this positive thing with a negative, and that's that DTR appeared to get hurt in this game, our backup quarterback. And I say backup quarterback very shakily, because he doesn't look like somebody who's going to stick around to me. I mean, they put him out on the field, and you could just see everything just go to hell in a handbasket. You saw the flailing, the panicking, the getting sacked, the whole 9 yards. You can't make it in this league without elite skills as a quarterback. you can be a professional backup and be a game manager. But you saw what happened when he tried to throw a long pass downfield, and the guy had to circle and it was thrown on the wrong side of him on the sideline. Case Keenum doesn't have an NFL arm. At 28 he didn't. At 35, he's totally inescapable. You saw whenever the pressure came up the middle, it was like death. I mean, he just go to the ground because, all right.
I have a prediction for y'all.
Yes.
I have a prediction. You can play the Pigskin Pete predicts here. Mason Crosby will be a member of the Cleveland Browns on Monday or Tuesday.
Mason Crosby already has a job.
He is out there. The man is 39 years old.
No, he's not. He was picked up by the Giants.
Isn't he on the practice? Yeah, but he's on the practice squad.
Yeah, they can sign guys off practice squads.
These guys sign guys off the practice squad.
No, he was advanced to start because it was Cade York. Cade York was going to be the starting kicker, and York injured his leg. They brought Crosby up. Am I wrong about this?
I don't know.
They may have done it today. I don't know. They haven't played yet, so.
Yeah, it seems to me they did it yesterday. I remember reading the news story. Somebody check on that in the chat room, please. I don't think he's available, but he'd be the kind of guy you'd like to get because he's a veteran, and so it's
what the hell.
Can I make a crazy comment?
Sure.
We have a chance. I'll say this quietly so that it doesn't offend anybody. We have the chance for the number 1 seed. I've said it. We have a chance.
Yeah,
There's a chance.
I'm really sorry the Jets didn't lose because
Emily Ratajkowski, but that's not happening either. So
if the Jets had lost, we would have been playing a completely demoralized team on Thursday. But with the short week, it's not going to be easy.
Oh, the Jets always give us fucking fits.
Yeah, well,
when they had Flacco.
We won a game that statistically gives us the 99% chance of making the playoffs. That's the bottom line. Winning this road game was huge for this team, but not just winning it.
Huge.
The way they did it. Yeah, and Robbie Gould did retire, and, that would have been another kind of guy. You might want to put a phone call in and see if you can unretire him. Make it worth his while. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, it does. It said Randy Bullock hamstring, who was their kicker for the Giants, was out, and Cade York out. So they signed Crosby on Friday.
Right.
So there you go.
Yeah.
But they just had him on the practice squad and moved him up. But I imagine they're going to have to do like we did with Flacco and sign him for good because
they got nothing.
Yeah. Maybe we can make a deal. We can go over to what is this, Tommy DeVito's former agent, and make him an offer he can't refuse.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what's available. I mean, the fact is that Flacco was technically available out there because nobody wanted him. Yeah. So again, if you look at, and I'm going to give a big boost to Kevin Stefanski, who came out, and if you watch the halftime show, you'll know what I was talking about, came out and delivered a crisp, clean play call drive that was 92 yards or 94 yards in length and ate up 9 minutes.
9 minutes. 9 fucking minutes was even bigger.
Which is exactly, and you see, because you never know what's going to happen at the end of a game. You need to consume time. You didn't have a kicker. So, and the fact that these drives, that they ended up in touchdowns is all the more impressive. So, and to run out the clock basically on them, that record reception by Amari Cooper was a first down and was another rope that was just perfectly timed to him. But the play calling extremely sound, going from a quick strike offense to going into a possession passing offense and precision patterns and timing. Good play calls, great execution, and overall. What are you doing? Are you beating off with your microphone?
Me?
I don't know who's doing that.
It's not me.
I was typing.
Oh, that's what it was. Are you sure, Jim? Are you sure?
Hands free.
Well, I can't see where your hands are going. All right.
I guess.
Meanwhile, what does Terry Pluto think of this game?
Terry Pluto. He's having a spooge fest right now.
I think you should have Peter Alice do a little soliloquy about Case Keenum.
Okay, you want him to, all right, here we go. Here we go. Oh, Case Keenum, they're coming after you, and it's not even Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, no sacks, no pressures, and oh, you would have thought that was a glorious thing, but no. No, you go back to pass, and there's this large human being that looks like Sasquatch coming at you, and it's Zadarius Smith, the guy who hadn't gotten sacks at all during the course of the season. And oh, he opened his mouth wide and he consumed you, and he rubbed his belly each time he sacked you. You have no escapability. Every quarterback escaped him this year except you, Case Keenum. Oh. Right. Yep. But overall, what bad things can you say about a Cleveland Browns team that did this?
We're 10-5.
I mean, the road game, which we've been having hell with all year long, 2-4, the defense not showing up on road games all season long. And this, I mean, you couldn't have played a better defensive game against a Case Keenum. You didn't let him Case Keenum us to death by just giving him the middle of the field. You got up the gut pressure on him, and he had to get rid of the ball fast. He had to dump everything else off. He never got Nico Collins really involved in the game at all. You took away their number one weapon, and that's that. That's how you get a team out of there. And and when you're getting an MRI, that hamstring, there are grades of hamstring tears, grade 3, grade 2, grade 1. Grade 1 would be no big deal, but if he's getting an MRI, it's not a tweak, folks. You're probably looking at a grade 2 or grade 3. That's 4 to 6 weeks. I'm just telling you what I know, and the grade 2 is 4 to 6 weeks if it's a bad grade 2.
Right, so you're telling me he'll be ready for the AFC Championship game then, huh?
If we get that far. Yeah.
Well, season ticket holders got an email this week with offering them tickets for the first round of the playoffs, the championship, or the second round and the championship. So it's a beautiful thing.
There's a possibility, right, if we're the 5th seed, that we could have a home divisional game. But the only way that is if we win, the 6th seed wins, and
right,
the 7th
you'd have to have the
wins.
6th and 7th seeds win.
Exactly. So then we would play the 6th seed at Cleveland Stadium. Wouldn't that be the sort of fucked up thing you'd expect?
You know, Big Lurker UK, I don't know. I haven't even had time to think about it. I mean, I don't know.
No,
I don't
the
know.
Ravens are a game and a half ahead. So
yeah, what I know is that 99% chance that we make the playoffs. That's all I care about. Not because if we can play this well on the road, then I that's where you're going to be, and you gotta beat a good team eventually. You may get a softer opponent in the first round, but it doesn't matter. The road goes through teams that are better than you and you have to play better on that day than that team. That's just the way the playoffs have always worked. And in football, it's a one-game deal. It's not like you get 7 games like the Cavaliers did to drop a bunch of them in the beginning and then come back and win. It isn't like that. Yeah. You can't lay down. You got to play a great game every week. You've got to overcome. The advantage that the Browns have is that they've overcome so much during the course of the season that you almost want to believe that they can damn near do anything at this point.
Well, every week there's something new to overcome. I mean, literally every fucking week there's something new.
Yeah, Miami's kicker, just we can't get him. Yep. And Dallas is the most overrated. I mean, God, I just can't get into the whole Dak Prescott thing.
Seed in the, they're the 3rd seed. That's just whack.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, Jim Schwartz was pissed. He was pissed off at the second and third defensive team. He was pissed off that he had to bring his starters back out on the field. Ought to tell you everything that you need to know. That was a run out the string, non-effort. Thank you. The absolute, the antithesis of next man up. That was a pathetic, making Davis Mills look like he was Joe Namath.
Wow.
No good. No good at all. So, yeah, that was a blemish. And I'm sure that Jim Schwartz is going to have a lot of choice words for people. They sure had their eye on Emerson, didn't they? And he got away with a hell of a lot because we didn't see Collins all day. So he may have been holding them all day. But again, I can't tell you how much, Myles Garrett gets held. So there seems to be a general feeling that pass rushers have become it's not like basketball players. Used to be a 7-foot guy was like, go back in history. If you're not talking about Lou Alcindor or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Wilt Chamberlain, you're talking about a 7-foot guy, and they were just some big, clumsy stump of a man who had no athletic ability. Well, defensive ends now are like Myles Garrett, and to tell you the truth, the NFL is probably allowing all of this holding because they want scoring to go up in games. I mean,
They do. Oh, Dallas got a touchdown.
Oh, good for them.
They're beating the Dolphins now.
Well, Tua's been taking heat, and it's going to be interesting how that plays out, too, because they've had a really good season. He's had a good season, but there's lingering doubts about that player in the media, and I'm not sure what it's all about because I don't follow the Dolphins, but so help me, if they bow out early in the playoffs, there's going to be an outcry because there are people who are saying that this guy is not, I think the durability thing continues to haunt him to some degree, and that the type of passing game that they're utilizing magnifies his ability. I don't know. We're going to find out. Big Lurker, he's always up to date on this stuff. We'll see how it shakes out in the next 24 hours. I don't think it's going to shake out. I think it's more just a kink there, Kevin. I think that, unfortunately, that injury is a sit your ass down and heal kind of injury. And I've just had it too many damn times. And it's no good. So let me see who else is commenting here. I don't think anybody is looking at winning the division at this point. I think it's every week, like we keep saying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's
now you got to get out, go out on Thursday and win. That's what it comes down to. And you got to use, what's so interesting? And I want your opinion on this, Hammer. We started out the season with Deshaun Watson and the rap that there was just no downfield passing game. And now suddenly we have a guy who's throwing for 400 yards a game. And he obviously has a favorite target in Amari Cooper, who is his best receiver. But he's also finding other people down the field. I mean, then this is the same offense, and he doesn't know the whole playbook either.
No, he doesn't.
So what's going on here? Is his ball placed better? Is it easier to catch? Is he making decisions that to throw to certain people who, that were not being made before? What is the story here?
If you watch the one touchdown to Njoku, who kind of came out open he kind of went out and went back into the post. The ball was thrown before the play was even done there. And I think that's what it is. That's why sometimes he gets a few interceptions, just because he has a lot of timing things in there. The guy throws a really nice deep ball. And the only one he didn't throw really good, he had a couple throws where he was like back-footing it, and he just kind of tossed it out there like you're throwing toss to a kid. And it's just like flip, and it went 25 yards down the field. And I'm like, I can't throw I couldn't throw 25 yards down the field when I was athletically challenged back then. But younger, let's just put it that way. I mean, it was just whoop, whatever, it just kind of goes out there. I mean, the other part is that, the guy's never rattled. He just isn't. Yeah. And if you think about they've mentioned this on the broadcast, the last two teams he played for, which was the Jets and the Broncos, had terrible offensive lines.
Oh God, yeah.
And even with all the replacement guys, he has 3 studs right up the middle.
Yeah.
And
he likes to step up. He does.
Yeah, there's periodically he had a couple times in that game he had to make some plays. He got sacked once, but it's just he's not rattled at all. And I think that's something that the receivers are picking up on. Plus, you got to figure Tillman. When Watson was playing with him, this is his first year playing pro ball. I mean, it's just that's not there. He knows that if he throws the ball in the direction of Njoku or Cooper, they're going to make a play on it. And even the screen that he missed Hunt on,
that was there.
And he knew it. And he even dropped an F-bomb on the field. It's like, but I mean, but he knew it. That play was going to get first down and more.
You know what the problem was on that play? And they didn't show it, from the proper angle.
Oh, John Madden. John Madden.
No, when Hunt went out into the flat for the screen, he got too close to his offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And so the ball was leading him the other way, and the inside of him there was the offensive lineman, and I think Hunt took his mind off that extra half a step that he needed to be in the right place at the right time. But man, there was nothing but like a convoy of blockers in front of him.
They were ready to go.
Yeah.
They were ready to move.
But again, making choices is such a huge part of this game. And, and I agree with you, the first play of the game reminded me, it took me all the way back to 1988, week 14 against, was it 88 or was it 87?
Was 88 the year with all the quarterbacks that we had?
Yeah, 88 was
Freeman,
the 4
Sprock, and Danielson.
No, that it wasn't that year. Maybe it was 86 then. It was week 14, the first play of the game. Kozar throws the bomb to Langhorne.
I think that was against the Bengals.
It was against the Bengals. That's what it reminded me of. First play strike.
Boom. Yeah, that was a beautiful. I can still see that now.
Set the tone. And the Browns wiped them out in Cincinnati that day.
Oh, yeah.
And it set the tone for the whole game. And that's what happened here. It was like, that first play. And I'll tell you, the ball was slightly underthrown. But Amari Cooper, if he can get his hands on it, he's likely to catch it. The other thing is he does not have human feet. I mean, some of those balls that were thrown on the sidelines, I swear to God, I'm so used to saying, nah, he was out. And they're going like this, it was in. I'm going, you got to be kidding. They slow it down, and sure enough, he gets 2 feet down.
Yeah.
Remarkable. Remarkable coordination. He deserves the record for this franchise. The way he's been playing and playing hurt.
Fucking hell, he deserves the fucking Ring of Honor at this point.
Well, and that's one of the things they talked about really at the beginning of the season was, can they afford to keep Amari Cooper? But after this season, how can you not afford to keep Amari Cooper?
Yes.
I mean, he's really proved that he is your biggest weapon out there. Ian Njoku and everybody else is an afterthought. But boy, the other thing, somebody brought it up in the chat. I don't know if it was in your chat at the halftime show or if it was I was on a different chat, a Yahoo chat. And they said, could you imagine what would have happened with Chubb in there in this game?
Oh my God.
The dude would have had 120 yards easy. I mean, as good as they were playing the play, doing things, there was a play that was a great example of it where Ford, there was a huge hole. Batonio came across and blasted this huge hole between him and Pogue. And there was this ginormous hole. And where did Ford run?
Yeah.
Right to where he had pulled, right where the guy had filled the gap, right
Not
into
good
the
vision.
guy. It's just like,
No.
it's he'll have 1 or 2, 3 good runs a game, but for every one of those really good runs,
the vision isn't there.
Yeah, it's not this. That's where Chubb is just such an amazing elite running back.
He's like a chess grandmaster. He's ahead 2, 3, 4 moves.
Yeah, and also actually speaking of guys like that, watching the Dolphins and Raheem Mostert, who has more touchdowns this year than half the damn league does on the ground. He's like,
now, I think for the 49ers, didn't he?
He actually, he did. Yeah. He's 31 years old now, playing for Miami. Dude has more touchdowns than the entirety of the Steelers did going into this week.
More than touchdown Tommy Vardell.
Wow. Stanford.
Yeah, Jacksonville. When you rely on Gardner Minshew, I mean, any team that literally depends on backup quarterback, it can vary from week to week. And he can be hot hand or he can be a cold hand. And it wasn't good today for them. Yeah, 99% isn't good enough. But again, Stefanski confirmed that if they win against New York, they're in. Win and you're in. And then you don't have to worry about Cincinnati.
Yeah, the predictor has them winning out at this point. But, this is the Browns, and we know better than that. So.
Right. I mean, I don't take anything for granted because one thing you can say about Robert Saleh's team is going to play hard. They may not play smart. They may not have what they need. I don't know who's playing at quarterback for the Jets. I don't know who played. Simeon played, I believe. And his numbers were not that good, but they got out to a lead. Maybe their defense did some things for them that got them the points. It didn't look like there was anything astronomical about the yardage when they were so far up in the game. They were up like 27-7 or some such goofy thing.
Simeon was 27 for 49.
Had a 28-27 until that final drive.
Right.
So yeah, it's just it's one of those kind of things. The fact, and this is something I think that's going to be huge. It is in Cleveland on Thursday night. It's going to be. There's going to be people taking the week off, for the holiday. It's going to be huge. There's going to be a loud crowd. It's going to be Cleveland dominant. It's not going to be one of those kind of things where we get the Cincinnati people coming in or we get the Pittsburgh people coming in or whatever. It's going to be a Cleveland crowd, and it's going to be loud as heck. And, let's just not shit the bed. Really, that's what it comes down to.
No, I mean, there are no things that you can expect. If you're ahead in the game, you saw that we did give up 15 points at the end of the game because backups weren't really ready to come into the game. There are teams that lose games that you're like, it's a trap game going in. It's a trap game, and you still let it happen to yourself. This year's Browns team has been very resilient in that regard, and they got to come out on Thursday on a short week, and they got to play their balls off to beat the Jets. They're going to have to really kick it into overdrive to get it done in front of their home crowd. We don't know what the weather's going to be like in Cleveland either. So you never know what you're going to play in this time of the year. It's 60 degrees for Christmas. No, it's 60 up there now.
Look at the weather report today. It will not be the same.
No, not at all.
It's like, yeah, the wind. Oh, geez, Mostert just busted another one. Jeez Louise.
Who did?
This guy is just incredible.
Who?
Raheem Mostert for the Miami. He
damn.
Just bust another big run. I mean, they're just going to run this right at Dallas. I mean, Buffalo showed you can do that. So they're just like, hey, let's just pound these guys.
Well, you want to know something, Mark? You're bemoaning the whole Deshaun Watson situation, and you're being a Debbie Downer here. Because what in the fuck did the Texans do with the draft picks? And the answer is they got a wide receiver who ended up with leukemia, Mechie, who went to Alabama, who has not amounted to anything. Take a look at the offensive lineman they took in the first round, who's been blown off the ball and isn't doing shit. They did nothing. The only thing they did is they traded some of those draft picks to get some better players. But what the haul that they got, basically from the whole situation with Deshaun Watson, they're a lousy organization and they did nothing with it. And here we are playing them. And where are their young superstars, Mark? Where are they? They're nowhere to be seen because the people they drafted, not a single one of them has stepped up and been a ball player for them this year. And we only focus on Deshaun because there's the element of what he did personally in his life and the choices that he made. That's what we do. But you got to look at it from a more balanced perspective. It's not your $230 million guaranteed dollars. It's not. It's Jimmy Haslam's, and he'll find a way to weasel that money back out somehow because he's a fucking prick. But other than that, I don't know. The guarantee isn't yours. You got a quarterback who, if he's healthy, is a fine quarterback. And the draft picks, if you're so hung up on draft picks, I don't see the Browns having done that great in the draft. I mean, better
in the third round.
Yeah. It was a calculated risk, and right now neither team looks like the Texans came out better because Watson wasn't going to play for them. But it doesn't look great for us. No, I'd be the first one to admit that. But to dwell on it, what's the point?
Can I dwell on something else? Let's give it up. Let's give it up big for the Minnesota Vikings, who are now the 8th seed in the NFC after the game so far today. They are out of the playoffs after their loss to the Lions.
Who played quarterback for them?
Mullins, our man Mullins.
And the funny thing was, Cincinnati scored the first points in the game, and we're up 3-0. They got the ball first in that game, and I watched that. You can watch some of these games online in their entirety.
Yeah,
fun as hell to watch.
Yeah.
Any of the games in Cleveland during that era, just look in the end zone and see if you see a guy with a sign doing something like this, a much younger version of this fella over here.
Yeah, I was there for one of them, the San Diego game, last game of the year.
That was with when Jim Lachey was still with San Diego.
Yeah. Yeah, you were I agree next to Hank Aaron.
You know what though? That you're thinking ahead. I mean, you kind of think you're renting Flacco for the year.
Yeah, well, it's definitely that way now because his phone going to be ringing now.
Yeah, I mean,
you know that.
Granted, he's getting
he deserves it.
Brady age, but God, I mean, like you said, his thing, and they had a couple of great comments. They interviewed him. Somebody interviewed him on something. They were talking to him about, you were on the practice squad or whatever. Did other teams approach you? He's like, yeah, they did. He says, this is just a good fit for me. He says, I like this. I like the situation, because think of the teams that he just got off of playing with. They're horrible.
Yeah. And they've been horrible for every quarterback.
this team has a chance of winning 12 regular season games and has already won 10. I mean, everybody was saying we're going to win 6 to 8 max. And here we are at 10 with 2 weeks left and two teams that have losing or 500 records.
Case Keenum went 11-3 with the Stefanski offense in Minnesota. That'll tell you something, that if you're more of a pocket passer, it's going to be better for you. If you're somebody who's kind of a creator and big downfield thrower, and the thing that's interesting is the play action. There was one little spurt in the game where we actually ran a few balls and we got yardage. And the third play, they bit big time, like it was going to be a run off of the play action fake, and we got a big play downfield. The thing is, and I would be concerned about this too, Mark, regarding Deshaun Watson. He strikes me as being a rather distant fellow, and I don't know what kind of a teammate he is, but what we know about Flacco is he knows how to take care of those around him, and he plays to the strengths psychologically of the people who he's playing with. He's developed this chemistry with Amari Cooper in a short period of time, and we did not see that happening with Deshaun Watson. There are some players who are considered good teammates. There are other guys who are considered really just very talented and very skilled players. I don't think Lamar Jackson is a great teammate. All right. I think he's a great athlete, but I think he's out for himself. And everybody this year on the Ravens team knows that. They know it because he didn't sign the extension and was talking about being a billionaire and all that kind of nonsense. So, there are guys who are better teammates and others who are not.
$1 billion.
Yep. Amazing, wow. Isn't it?
Yeah, it just, this whole game was just a great example. Another thing, too, think about Flacco. That's 3 weeks in a row with 300 yards.
Correct.
Now, looking at the advanced weather report, and we know everything's subject to change. Sure. 50% chance of rain. Game time temperature around 36.
Yep.
So, if it's rain, intermittent showers, windy, around 10 miles an hour. I mean, it's a Cleveland game.
It'll be all right.
It's one of those where
but it also keeps the game artificially close for a bad football team.
Right. It's one of those where having some guy like Hopkins, though, was a huge bonus for us because he can make those field goals when it's hard to catch those balls or whatever the case might be. So I think that's probably going to be the most interesting thing to see. And did you notice that Barry had his computer out, was already looking for players?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He wasn't playing around. He had his computer out and was looking at, I'm sure he's going to have a nice little Christmas dinner and be on the phone tomorrow night giving somebody a Christmas present. But, hey, how would you like to come to Cleveland?
Well, if you look at Big Lurker UK's comment here on the screen, this is what Joe Flacco is. He's a guy playing in a strange town. He's separated from his family, and he communicates via phone with his family. The life of a football player is play Sunday, heal up for a day or two, go through the walkthrough, go through the practice, and go to the next Gladiator Bowl. That's what the life of a football player is. You do that with the Jets and the Broncos when they were just in the shits at the lowest possible place, knowing that no team was interested in you at all.
Wow.
A sense of belonging becomes very important from a human perspective when you don't have your family and you are with a group of players who have bought into something and they buy into you. And that is what the difference is for Joe Flacco compared to where he was in his last 2 stops. He obviously has bought in because the people around him have bought into him, and it's become his second family. And that's priceless for a guy who had no business coming here initially because nobody thought that was even in the offing. So just a remarkable set of circumstances. So, I think,
There was another Flacco comment that was Joe Flacco's the same guy as he was when he was drafted. He's just a guy. He's just, he's not too up. He's not too down. He plays the game. He does his job. And he's in the same situation as he was with the Ravens, where he has a team that has a very good defense. And he's not asked to have to win games. He just has to keep them in the game. And that's, and the interceptions today, the one was they were trying to throw at the end zone, 4th down, whatever.
Yeah.
I throw those 2 interceptions out. I'm not that worried about it. So,
well, I mean, if you're asking a man to throw as many times as he's throwing the football, I mean, come on. I mean, he threw 42 times and didn't play the last whatever. Well, he did at the end. But if you're asking him to throw between 40 and 45 times a game, which is the case, and we did rush the ball 30 times for a big 54 yards.
Woohoo!
But you're asking him to throw that frequently, you're going to get some turnovers. That's just the way it works. But if he makes big plays too, he's getting us in the end zone from a long ways away. We're not getting stalled on the 6-yard line because we don't have the red zone, offense.
Yeah.
Not like that. He can get us into the end zone on a rope from 32 yards, from 62 yards, or the threat of his arm in the red zone by itself. The run that Ford had to the outside was all predicated on that. They thought that something was in the offing. They were going to give the ball back to Flacco and he was going to throw it. They thought it was a Stefanski trick play, and that opened up the outside for Ford to score the touchdown. So, it's really nice to hear good stories coming out of football because there's so much treachery in the game. So the Buccaneers are ahead 13-0 as David is fawning over Baker Mayfield. I take it. Who are they playing? The Bucs.
They're playing Jacksonville. Old Trevor Lawrence.
I mean,
they're on their way down.
Yeah.
Flacco completed passes to 9 different players today.
Yep.
Even 2 to Jordan Akins. Now, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, when you go 9 deep, and they were saying 8 a week ago that he'd done a couple of times, once 9. Now, this is the second time he's thrown to 9 different guys. He's looking. In other words, he's progressing through reads quickly because he's not getting locked in on one guy. I mean, that when he goes off his back foot a week ago to Njoku, that wasn't the primary read, So he's doing what a really good veteran quarterback would do. So,
Well, the thing about the Jets is that they're eliminated now. They're no longer in the hunt. They are gone. They're below the in the hunt line.
So now they're up 20-0. Yeah, the Jaguars have reached the end. And that's what I was saying about the Texans today. There are teams who are technically still in the running. That's why there's a 17-game season and it's not 14. Because there are teams that cannot deal with injuries or with the fatigue or the bad Doug Peterson decisions or whatever it may be. Teams can't overcome. And they fall by the wayside, and you see the separation finally between the better and the worst teams. And I think that's what we're seeing. Well, in the Watson trade truly doesn't make sense. Well, again, I don't blame Deshaun Watson for that Ohio individual. I really don't. I blame Jimmy Haslam for that. And that's a panic Haslam move, no different than selecting Johnny Manziel out of the clear blue sky. That is all on him. I mean, we can go over this over and over again. It's the situation the team is not in right now. Next year, there'll be a different year. Let's focus on the positive right now, what we can get and what we can do. And Frank, thank you. The Bengals just didn't come out and execute. And I'll tell you, the quarterback looked horrible. For a guy who had done so well, he started out that game, and I don't know who he was throwing the ball to.
He was that way in college, though. He was touted for the Heisman his first few games of the whatever one of the years. They were talking all kinds of stuff about him, and then the next thing you know, he just kind of went in the dumper. But the Bengals, it seemed like they had the Steelers had a renewed interest with merry old Rudolph and his red nose. They just seemed to play better than they had all year.
Correct. I think that was their best game on offense all year.
I'll tell you this: you're saying you're putting Jacoby Brissett and Joe Flacco in the same sentence. Stop that before I just vomit on camera. Jacoby Brissett did not play well in Stefanski's system. He just threw the ball out of bounds. I don't see any basis for what you're saying. I mean, if you don't like the Watson trade, you don't like the Watson trade. Personally, I think that it was a panic move. But again, if a 38-year-old quarterback can step into this offense and do what Joe Flacco's done, then if Watson can't do as well, then yeah, I'll agree with you.
There are other 38-year-old quarterbacks that could not do this, though. Keep that in mind. Yeah. There's some 32-year-old quarterbacks and 36-year-old quarterbacks and some other guys in their mid-30s that are no longer in the league that could not do what Flacco's doing right now. He's such a steady, stoic kind of thing out there, and he doesn't panic, and he doesn't, it's in, to DTR's defense, he hasn't seen enough football yet at this level. I mean, you can be whatever. Now, we're talking about how an offense fits a player. The offense of the Texans fits C.J. Stroud's skill set better than it does a Case Keenum or a Davis Mills. You know what I mean? Stroud can do things in that offense. They've really tailored it for Stroud, and it's you could see Stroud can throw the deep ball. Case Keenum can't. It's not there. So,
yeah.
Well, as far as Amsterdam, I will say hi to you and say,
I will tell you something as Dr. Ruth to you. Tell your wife you are sorry about telling me that her pussy smells and get her a bouquet of flowers.
I actually heard her say that to somebody.
That solves two problems, isn't it?
Tell your girlfriend that her pussy smells.
She didn't say pussy.
That she smells in the groin region, and
no, she would straight go vagina. She would.
Vagina. You're right.
And she said, then give her a flowers. It's like, no.
You should have an echo on because she's dead.
And tell her to jam some up. No, never mind.
Yeah.
And then she will plant them right up your butthole.
I got the echo in for her. Sorry about that.
How's the gong of truth getting on? Is he still on the floor? The big.
Oh yeah, he's here. Yeah. The gong is here.
The gong is here. I'll tell you what. Ravens lose to the 49ers like tomorrow or whenever it is, whatever day it is, and we beat the Jets. That puts some fucking pressure on them when they play the Dolphins next Sunday, doesn't it? It really does. That puts some pressure on Lamar.
There's some. I mean, it's still out there.
And the Steelers, did they have to play the Steelers on the last
They got to
week?
play the Steelers the last weekend.
Yeah, and we all know what the Steelers can do. They can upset anybody.
They still got T.J. Watt, and they still got Hayward, and they got some guys out there that can play some defense.
And
Here's the least happy guy in the cosmos. You know what Dr. Phil would say to this guy?
It's not the biggest fleece. The biggest fleece is when was the Ricky was the Saints and
Ricky Williams
and the Saints trading away the entire draft. That was the biggest fleece. The second biggest fleece was the Vikings, Cowboys, what's his name? The running back that played in the USFL.
Herschel Walker.
What's that?
Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
That was the second biggest fleece.
And CO Dad, I'll say this to you as Dr. Phil.
And this is 3.
Now, you could just take a pistol and point it at your head and blow your fucking brains out. That's what I would say. Yeah, and you will be dead. God, some people can just never be happy. You're depressed, dude. I know, depressed, man.
Sitting here and I have the Dolphins Cowboys game on, and you watch somebody like Tyreek Hill, who is teeny tiny, right?
Oh yeah,
and so fast, and they thought that they had it with the Schwartz. They thought they were going to have the Schwartz beat Tyreek Hill, and he wasn't Tyreek Hill. And they thought that Elijah Moore was going to be Tyreek Hill, and he's not Tyreek Hill. And it's just it's so amazing when you get that.
Are you a Pittsburgh fan, Ohio individual? You put the H in the wrong place. It's Pyrrhic, a Pyrrhic victory. Don't try to impress people with your lack of knowledge. Don't be dumb. God, just say it in a way that you understand how to spell it. Goodness gracious. And Dan Campbell, congratulations to the Lions. Tony, the calf, brings that up in the chat room. Absolutely. It's great to see teams that are traditional teams that don't do so well doing really well. And that's great. And I got to get out of here because my company is coming over here in just a matter of minutes. And I don't want to still be on the air because that would be rude. I would be less than a good host. But, this is a great victory because it propels us to within, 99% chance of making it. It puts us in a position where we can win this thing in front of our home crowd and get into the playoffs. And that's a huge reward for fans who have put up with the nonsense for so long. And congratulations to the coaching staff, the defensive staff, Kevin Stefanski, and to the players themselves who played their hearts out this year. One more good game to get into the playoffs, and at 10-5, no one would have thought that. Nobody, especially given the circumstances of how this has played out. Thanks a lot, Hammer Time, for being here, Bronk for being here, and now tomorrow is Christmas, so I'm not doing a show. This is going to be tricky. I'll wind up recording a show sometime during the week as the pregame show for the Thursday game, and then we'll come back on the Friday with the victory show. Hopefully,
New Year's Eve.
Hopefully on Friday. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Congratulations. Be happy, Browns fans. Have a really good Christmas here with your family, your friends. It's a great time of year to catch up with people, and just enjoy yourselves. And I'll be seeing y'all next week. And until then, victory is ours. Victory is ours.
We are the champions,
my friend. Okay. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.